General Zurex stood on the command deck of his massive ship. His 6 eyes blinked at different times as he looked at the blue planet on the main screen. Earth. Such a small place to cause so much trouble? Is the message ready? He asked. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks being crushed. Officer Grell nodded. Yes, General. Ready to send to the humans. Zorax moved his 4 arms in a pattern that showed he was pleased. He had waited many cycles for this moment. The humans had been a problem since they were discovered. They were new to space travel, but acted like they owned the stars. It was time they learned their place in the galaxy. Send it, he ordered. The message shot through space toward Earth. It was simple. The Galactic Union demanded that Earth join them and follow their rules. Earth had 10 days to agree, or there would be trouble. Zorax turned to his second-in-command, Captain Vrex. They will say no, of course. Vrex's skin changed from blue to green, showing he agreed. Yes, General. The humans always say no. Good. Zorax showed his sharp teeth in what passed for a smile among his kind. When they refuse, we will have reason to show our power. Captain Vrex looked worried. The Council might not approve of an attack, General. Earth is in the protected zone, according to the old treaties. Zorax waved a hand to dismiss this concern. Treaties made long ago by leaders who are now dust. The galaxy changes. The Union grows. Earth stands in our way. Still, said Vrex, we should follow the proper steps. If we ask to see their army first, we can report to the Council that they are too weak to defend themselves. Then we will have permission to act. Zorax thought about this. His race lived for hundreds of years, so waiting a little longer would not matter. And it would be fun to see the humans scramble to show strength they did not have. You are right, Vrex. Send a second message. Tell Earth I wish to see their army. Tell them to bring their forces to the meeting station near their star, called Proxima Centauri. We will meet in 10 days. Vrex bowed and went to send the message. Zorax turned back to look at the blue planet. Soon it would be just another part of the Union, its people serving as workers for the greater good. The general felt a moment of pity for the humans. They had no idea what was coming. On Earth, the leaders of all nations met in a large room in Geneva. The room was filled with angry voices. This is the 3rd threat from the Galactic Union this year, said President Ava Brown of the North American Alliance. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and a strong voice that made people listen. Now they want to see our army. We should refuse, said Prime Minister Liu of the Asian Coalition. They just want to study our weapons. Defense. Chief Greg Harris stood up. He was an older man who had been in many wars on Earth before humans knew about aliens. We can't refuse. If we do, they will say we broke the rules of diplomacy. They will use that as a reason to attack. The room grew quiet. Everyone knew Earth was not ready for a space war. The first human ships had reached Mars just 50 years ago. They had only learned about the wider galaxy 30 years ago, when an alien ship crashed in the desert. The aliens inside were already dead, but their computer still worked. From it, humans learned they were not alone. Since then, Earth had built better ships and weapons. They had even sent people to the edge of the solar system. But compared to the Galactic Union, which had been traveling between stars for thousands of years, Earth was like a baby just learning to walk. What can we do? Asked Chancellor Schmidt of the European Union. Our ships are few and simple. If we show them our real army, they will know we are weak. Then we don't show them our real army, said a voice from the back of the room. Everyone turned to look. A man stood there who many did not know. He was not tall or short, not fat or thin. He had brown hair and looked about 30 years old. He wore the uniform of the Earth Defense Force, with the rank of lieutenant on his shoulder. Who are you? asked President Brown. Lieutenant Joe Miller, ma'am. I work with special projects. Defense Chief Harris nodded. He's with Project Spark. Let him speak. Lieutenant Miller walked to the front of the room. He did not seem nervous, even with all the world leaders watching him. The general asked to see Earth's army, Miller said. But he didn't say how many soldiers he needs to see. Send me. Just me. The room erupted in voices again. Some laughed. Some shouted that the idea was crazy. President Brown held up her hand for quiet. Explain, Lieutenant. I am part of Project Spark, Miller said. For the past 5 years, we have been working with technology we found in an old alien ship buried under the ice in Antarctica. It was not like the ship that crashed in the desert. It was much older and more advanced. He pressed a button on his wrist. A small ball of light appeared above his hand. It changed colors and shapes as the leaders watched. This is just a simple example, Miller said. The technology bonds with human DNA. It changes us, makes us more than human. I can do things that look like magic to most people. How many people have this technology? Asked Prime Minister Liu. Just 20 of us so far, Miller said. The process is difficult and dangerous. Half of those who tried did not survive. And you want to show this to the Galactic Union? Chancellor Schmidt looked shocked. They will want it for themselves. Miller shook his head. They won't be able to use it. The technology only works with human DNA. We've tested it, and they need to know we have something they don't understand, something that might make them think twice before attacking us. The room was quiet again as everyone thought about this. It's a risk, said Defense Chief Harris, but I think it's our best option. President Brown looked at Miller for a long time. You understand what you're offering to do? If things go wrong, you will be alone with the aliens. We can't help you. Miller nodded. I know, ma'am, but someone needs to stand for Earth. After more talk, the vote was taken. The plan was approved. Earth would send one man to meet the Galactic Union's Army Dot as the meeting ended. President Brown stopped Miller at the door. Lieutenant, why did you volunteer for this? It could be a one-way trip. Miller looked at her with calm eyes. My grandfather used to tell me stories about standing up to bullies, Mom. He said sometimes you have to be brave, even when you're scared. The galaxy is full of bullies. Someone has to stand up to them. As Miller left the room, Brown turned to Harris. Do you think this will work? Harris shrugged. I don't know, but I do know that throughout history, sometimes one person in the Aussie, right place at the right time, can change everything. Let's hope Miller is that person. In space, General Zorax's ship turned and headed toward the meeting place. In 10 days, he would see Earth's army. And then, he was sure, the path to conquest would be clear. The ship was small by space standards, but it was the best Earth had. Lieutenant Joe Miller sat alone in the pilot's seat, watching the stars streak by outside. The ship's computer handled most of the flying, but Joe liked to keep his hands on the controls. It made him feel like he was doing something. 6 hours until we reach Proxima Centauri, the computer said in a calm voice. Joe nodded and checked his uniform again. It was plain and gray, with just a small Earth patch on the shoulder. Nothing fancy. Nothing to show he was Special Dot. He thought about the last week. The training, the meetings, the goodbyes. Most people thought he would not come back. His parents had cried. His friends had tried to talk him out of going. But Joe knew he had to do this. He closed his eyes and focused. A warm feeling spread from his chest to his fingers. When he opened his eyes, his hand was glowing with a soft blue light. He moved his fingers, and the light danced between them like water. Still working, he said to himself. He had worried the alien technology might stop working as he got farther from Earth. but it seemed fine. Joe wasn't sure how to explain what the technology did to him. The scientists had many big words for it, but the simple truth was that it changed him, made him more than human. He could move faster than any normal person. He could make shields of energy. He could even change how gravity affected him, and he could sense things. Right now, he could sense the giant alien ship waiting near Proxima Centauri. It was like a storm on the edge of his mind. Joe checked the computer again. 5 hours now. He should try to sleep, but he was too nervous. Instead, he pulled up the files on General Zorax. The alien general was from a race called the Vraxian. They looked a bit like large lizards that walked on 2 legs. They had 4 arms and 6 eyes. Their skin was tough and scaly, and they lived for hundreds of years. Zorax was over 300 years old and had led many battles for the Galactic Union. "Great," Joe muttered. "I'm going up against someone who was fighting wars before my great-grandparents were born." He closed the file and tried to relax. This mission was important. Earth needed time. Time to build more ships. Time to train more people with the alien technology. Time to make friends with other races who didn't like the Galactic Union. But to get that time, Joe had to convince Zorax that Earth was not weak. The hours passed slowly. Joe checked his equipment, practiced with his abilities, and went over the plan again and again. Finally, the computer spoke. Approaching Proxima Centauri meeting station. Galactic Union ships detected. Joe took a deep breath and straightened his uniform. Open a channel to the station. A screen lit up, showing an alien with green skin and large eyes. "Earth vessel, you are cleared to dock at Bay 7. General Zorax awaits Earth's military delegation." "Thank you," Joe said. "Earth's representative will arrive shortly." The alien seemed confused. "Representative?" The general requested to see Earth's army. Joe smiled. "And he will. Please inform the general that we are ready." The screen went dark. Joe guided the ship toward the space station. It was huge, at least 10 times bigger than anything Earth had built. Ships from many different alien races were docked there, and the biggest one was Zorax's command ship, looking like a giant metal shark. The docking went smoothly. Joe gathered his courage and walked to the airlock. This was it. The moment he stepped out, he would be the face of Earth to the Galactic Union. "For Earth," he said quietly, and then opened the door. The meeting area was massive. Hundreds of alien soldiers lined the walls, all in shiny armor with weapons at their sides. They were from different races, but all wore the symbol of the Galactic Union. At the far end, sitting on a raised platform, was General Zorax. The general was even more impressive in person. He was larger than the other Vraxians, with darker scales and eyes that seemed to burn with inner fire. His 4 arms were covered in scars from old battles, worn like badges of honor. Joe walked slowly down the center of the room. He could feel all eyes on him. The aliens whispered to each other, clearly confused by the sight of a single human. When Joe reached the platform, he stopped and gave a small bow. "General Zorax, I am Lieutenant Joe Miller of Earth's Defense Force. I bring greetings from my planet." Zorax leaned forward, his eyes blinking in sequence. "Where is the rest of your delegation? Human. Where are your commanders, your soldiers?" "I am Earth's representative," Joe said calmly. "You asked to see Earth's army. I am here to show you." A low rumble went through the room as the aliens reacted. Some seemed angry, others amused. Zorax himself rose to his full height, towering over Joe. "Is this a joke?" the general asked, his voice like thunder. "One human? This is how Earth responds to our request?" Joe met the general's gaze without flinching. "With respect, General, you did not specify how many of us should come. Earth chose to send me. To insult us?" One of Zorax's hands moved to the weapon at his side. "No, General. To represent Earth fairly. Joe kept his voice steady. Sometimes one is enough. Zorax laughed, a harsh sound that echoed in the large room. One human against my forces. What can one human do? Joe smiled slightly. Would you like a demonstration? The room went quiet. Zorax studied Joe for a long moment, then waved one of his hands. Very well, human. Show us what one Earth soldier can do. It should be amusing, at least. Joe nodded and stepped back to give himself space. He closed his eyes briefly, feeling the alien technology in his blood respond to his thoughts. When he opened his eyes again, they glowed with blue light. The demonstration will have 3 parts, General, Joe said. First, speed. Before anyone could react, Joe moved. 1 second he was standing in front of Zorax. The next he was across the room. Then by the door, then back again. To the aliens, he seemed to disappear and reappear in different places, moving faster than their eyes could follow. Zorax stood up, his hand now fully on his weapon. What trick is this? No trick, General, Joe said, now standing calmly again. Just the first thing Earth soldiers can do. Would you like to see the second part? The aliens were no longer amused. Some had drawn their weapons. Zorax raised a hand to stop them, his eyes never leaving Joe. Continue, the general ordered, his voice lower now. Joe nodded. The second part is defense. He spread his arms, and a blue glow surrounded him. You may fire one of your weapons at me, General. A low setting would be appreciated, but it's your choice. Zorax stared at Joe for a long moment, then nodded to one of his guards. The guard raised a weapon and fired. A bolt of energy shot toward Joe. The energy hit the blue glow and stopped. It didn't bounce off or explode. It simply vanished into the light around Joe. Then, slowly, the energy gathered in Joe's right hand, forming a small ball of light. And the third part, Joe said, is return. He gently tossed the ball of energy up and caught it, like it was a toy. Then he pointed at an empty part of the room and opened his hand. The energy shot out, hitting the wall and leaving a black mark. The room was completely silent now. Even Zorax seemed at a loss for words. Finally, the general spoke. What are you? Joe let the blue glow fade. I told you, General. I'm a soldier from Earth. One of many. Zorax's eyes narrowed. There are more like you. Yes, Joe said simply. Many more. It wasn't exactly a lie. There were more humans with the alien technology. Just not as many as Joe was suggesting. I think, Zorax said slowly, that we have much to discuss, Lieutenant Miller of Earth. Joe nodded. Yes, General. I believe we do. General Zorax led Joe through the space station to a smaller room. The walls were made of a dark metal that seemed to drink in the light. A large table sat in the middle, with chairs of different sizes to fit the many types of aliens in the Galactic. Union 2 guards followed them in. They stood by the door, weapons ready. They kept their eyes on Joe, watching his every move. Sit, Zorax said, pointing to a chair. Joe sat down, keeping his face calm. Inside, his heart was racing. The demonstration had gone well, but now came the hard part. Now he had to talk, to convince the general that Earth was worth leaving alone. Zorax sat across from him. The general's 6 eyes blinked indifferent. Patterns as he studied Joe. You are not what we expected, Zorax said finally. No, I guess not, Joe agreed. The reports said humans were new to space travel, that your ships were simple, that your weapons were weak. Zorax leaned forward. They did not mention humans who could move like light or stop energy blasts with their hands. Joe smiled a little. There's a lot about humans that's not in your reports. So it seems. Zorax tapped his claws on the table. Where did this power come from? It is not natural. Joe had been told what to say to this question. The truth, but not all of it. We found something on Earth, he said, something old, left by those who came before any of us. Some people call them the ancients. They left technology behind. We learned how to use it. Zorax's eyes widened slightly. The precursors. You found precursor technology. Joe nodded. If that's what you call them, yes. The general was quiet for a long time. Joe could almost see him thinking, planning. This technology, Zorax said finally. It gives all humans these powers? No. Only some of us can use it. Those who match. What the ancients were looking for. This was the dangerous part. Joe needed Zorax to believe Earth had many people like him, enough to be a real threat, but he couldn't lie too much. Aliens were good at spotting lies. And how many is some? Zorax asked. Joe looked the general in the eyes. Enough. Zorax made a sound that might have been a laugh. You play this game well, human, not giving too much away. It's not a game to us, General. It's survival. Zorax nodded slowly. Yes, survival. That is something all species understand. He stood up and walked around the table. Let me tell you something about the Galactic Union, Lieutenant Miller. We have existed for 10,000 of your Earth years. We have brought hundreds of worlds into our fold. Some came willingly, for protection or trade. Others needed more convincing. You mean you conquered them? Joe said. A harsh word. I prefer to say we helped them see the benefits of joining us. Zorax stopped behind Joe's chair. The Union grows because it must. It is the nature of power to expand. To stay still is to die. Joe stayed facing forward, though his neck itched with Zorax behind him. Earth wants to live in peace. We're not looking for a fight. Few are, but fights find them anyway. Zorax moved back to his seat. The Union Council sent me to assess Earth's strength, to see if you were ready to join us. And now? Zorax's mouth moved in what might have been a smile. Now I must think. You have shown me something unexpected. One human with the power of ancient technology. You say there are more like you. But how many? Enough to fight the Union if we decided to take Earth by force. Do you want to find out? Joe asked quietly. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the station's engines. The two guards by the door shifted slightly, hands tight on their weapons. Finally, Zorax spoke. No, not today. He pressed something on the table, and a screen appeared in the air between them. This is a treaty. Standard terms for worlds that join the Union. Read it. Joe looked at the alien writing, which changed to English as he watched. He read quickly. The treaty said Earth would be protected by the Union. Earth would get help with technology and trade. But Earth would have to follow Union laws. Earth would have to give resources to the Union. Earth would have to accept Union soldiers on their planet. This is not independence, Joe said when he finished. This is control. This is protection, Zorax corrected. The galaxy is a dangerous place, Lieutenant. There are things out there that would destroy your world without a second thought. The Union offers safety at the cost of freedom. Freedom is expensive. Zorax waved his hand, and the treaty disappeared. Think about it. Take this offer back to your leaders. Tell them what you had seen here. Tell them of the size of our fleet, the power of our weapons. Tell them also that I am impressed by Earth's representative. The Union could use soldiers like you. Joe stood up. I'll tell them everything, General, including that you threatened us. Zorax also stood. Not a threat, a reality. The Union will have Earth, Lieutenant Miller. The only question is whether it will be as friends or as conquered subjects. Joe felt anger rise in him, but he kept his face calm. Getting angry would not help Earth. I'll be leaving now, he said, unless you plan to stop me. Zorax made a gesture. and the guard stepped away from the door. "You are free to go. Your ship is ready. But know this, human. You have 3 of your Earth months to decide. After that, the Union will take action." Joe walked to the door, then turned back. "General, you said the Union has existed for 10,000 years. That's a long time. But the ancients were around long before that, and they chose humans for their technology. Maybe you should think about why." Without waiting for an answer, Joe left the room. His heart was pounding as he walked through the station back to his ship. Aliens of all kinds watched him pass. Some looked curious, others afraid. Word had spread about what he had done. Back in his ship, Joe checked everything carefully before taking off. He wouldn't put it past Zorax to try something sneaky. But the ship seemed fine. As he pulled away from the station, he saw Zorax's giant vessel looming nearby. It looked even more like a predator from this angle. Joe set a course for Earth and tried to relax. The meeting had gone about as well as could be expected. He had shown Earth's power. He had bought some time. 3 months wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. As his ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, Joe thought about what would happen next. Earth's leaders would need to make plans. They would need to prepare for the possibility of war. They would need to find more people who could use the ancient technology. And they would need to hope that the Galactic Union believed Earth was stronger than it really was. Joe looked out at the stars streaking by. 3 months, he said to himself. We have work to do. The trip back to Earth took 2 days. Joe spent most of that time thinking about what he would say to Earth's leaders. How could he explain the size and power of the Galactic Union? How could he make them understand the danger Earth was in? When his ship finally entered Earth's space, 5 defense ships met him. They flew beside him as he headed toward the planet. It felt good to see Earth ships again, even if they looked small and simple compared to the alien vessels he had seen. "Lieutenant Miller, welcome back," a voice said over the radio. "Please follow us to Geneva." Joe's ship landed at a special base outside the city. As soon as he stepped out, he was surrounded by soldiers and rushed into a building. They took him to a small room where doctors checked him over. "I'm fine," Joe kept saying, but they didn't listen. They took blood samples and scanned his body. They seemed surprised that he was healthy. "We half expected you to come back changed," one doctor said, "or not come back at all." After the doctors were done, Joe was taken to a large room deep under the building. The world leaders were waiting for him. They all looked tense and tired, like they hadn't slept since he left. "Lieutenant Miller," President Brown said, standing up, "the fact that you're here means you succeeded." "At least partly," Joe nodded. "General Zorax let me leave, and he gave us 3 months to decide what to do." "Decide what?" asked Prime Minister Liu. "Whether to join the Galactic Union willingly or be forced to join." Joe looked around the room. "It's not much of a choice." Defense Chief Harris frowned. "Tell us everything. Start from when you arrived at the meeting station." Joe told them about his meeting with Zorax. He described the space station, the hundreds of alien soldiers, and the demonstration of his powers. He told them about the private talk with Zorax and the 3-month deadline. When he finished, the room was quiet. The leaders looked at each other, their faces worried. 3 months, Chancellor Schmidt said finally. "That's not much time." "No," Joe agreed. "It's not." "Could you tell how many ships they have?" Harris asked. "How many soldiers?" Joe shook his head. "I only saw a small part of their fleet. But Zorax's ship alone was bigger than anything we have. And he said the Union has hundreds of worlds. That means thousands of ships, maybe millions of soldiers." President Brown sighed. "We can't fight a war against that." "Maybe we don't have to," Joe said. All eyes turned to him. "Zorax was impressed by what I could do. He believes there are more humans with these powers. If we can make him believe Earth has enough powered humans to make an attack too costly, he might back down. A bluff? Harris looked thoughtful. It could work, but only if it's believable. Joe nodded. That's why we need to find more people who can use the ancient technology. As many as possible. The process is dangerous, Prime Minister Liu reminded them. Half of those who try don't survive. We need volunteers, Joe said. People willing to take the risk. The leaders talked for hours. They argued about what to do, how to prepare, who to tell about the alien threat. Some wanted to tell everyone. Others thought that would cause panic. In the end, they agreed on a plan. They would look for more volunteers for Project Spark. They would build more ships, even if they weren't as good as the alien ones. And they would try to find other alien races who didn't like the Galactic Union to see if they could make friends. Lieutenant Miller, President Brown said as the meeting ended, you've done more for Earth than anyone could have asked. But we need your help again. We need you to train the new volunteers, show them how to use their powers. Joe nodded. He was tired, but Earth needed him. Yes, ma'am. I'll do whatever I can. For the next 2 months, Joe worked with the new volunteers. Men and women from all over the world came to try. Some were soldiers. Some were just ordinary people who wanted to help. Too many didn't survive the process. But those who did began to learn what they could do. Mary Chun could create shields so strong that nothing could break them. Frank Jackson could heal any wound just by touching it. Sami Patel could talk to machines, make them work better than they should. Each person who survived got a different power from the ancient technology. While Joe trained the new powered humans, Earth scientists and engineers worked day and night to improve their ships and weapons. They studied the ancient technology, trying to understand how it worked. They made some progress, but not enough. About 2.5 months after Joe's meeting with Zorax, Earth had 37 powered humans and 20 new ships. It wasn't much against the might of the Galactic Union, but it was better than nothing. Then, earlier than expected, the aliens returned. Joe was working with a new volunteer when the alarm sounded. Red lights flashed, and a voice came over the speakers. All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Joe ran to the command center. The other powered humans followed him. Inside, the world leaders were gathered around a large screen. On it, they could see a massive alien ship in orbit around Earth. It was Zorax's command vessel. He's early, Harris said, his face grim. We still have 2 weeks before the deadline. Maybe he got impatient, Joe suggested. Or maybe he's testing us, seeing if we're ready. A message appeared on the screen. It was from Zorax. Earth leaders, the message. Read, the time for decision has come. I will meet with your representative again, the same one as before. He will bring your answer. Will Earth join the Galactic Union, or will Earth resist? President Brown looked at Joe. It has to be you again. You're the only one he knows. Joe nodded. I'll go. But what answer am I taking? The leaders looked at each other. They had discussed this many times over the past months. They had hoped for more time, more preparation, but the moment had come. Tell him, President Brown said slowly, that Earth respectfully declines to join the Galactic Union at this time. We wish to remain independent. And if he threatens war? Joe asked. Then tell him we are ready to defend ourselves. Brown's voice was firm, but Joe could see the fear in her eyes. Tell him that the humans of Earth will not be conquered easily. Joe thought about the size of Zorax's ship, about the vast fleet of the Galactic Union. Earth wasn't ready for a war. But sometimes you had to stand up to bullies, even when you were scared. Yes, ma'am, he said. I'll tell him. Joe's small ship rose through Earth's atmosphere. This time, he wasn't alone. Mary Chun sat beside him, her hands steady on the controls. 5 more powered humans were in the back of the ship. They weren't part of the plan, but Joe had insisted on bringing them, just in case. Are you nervous? Mary asked. Joe nodded. A little. Zorax isn't going to be happy with our answer. That's why I'm here, Mary said with a small smile. Her power to create shields was the strongest of all the volunteers. If things went bad, she might be able to protect them long enough to escape. The trip to Zorax's ship didn't take long. It was waiting just beyond the moon, a dark shape against the stars. As they got closer, Joe could see it was even bigger than he remembered. It made their little ship look like a toy. Remember, Joe told the others, stay on the ship unless I call for you. If anything happens to me, get back to Earth as fast as you can. They all nodded. They knew what was at stake. A voice came over the radio, speaking in the flat tones of a translator. Earth vessel, you are cleared to dock in Bay 3. The general is waiting. Joe guided the ship into the alien vessel. The docking bay was huge, with many other ships parked inside. Most were small fighting ships, sleek and deadly looking. Lots of fighters, Mary said quietly. They came ready for trouble. Joe nodded. Stay alert. He left the ship alone, walking down the ramp to where Zorax waited. The general stood with 4 guards, all heavily armed. His scales looked darker than before, and his eyes burned with an inner light. Lieutenant Miller, Zorax said. Welcome back. Joe stopped a few steps away and gave a small bow. General Zorax, thank you for meeting with me. You brought others. This time, Zorax nodded toward the Earthship. More of your powered humans? Just a few, Joe said. For my protection. Zorax made a sound that might have been a laugh. You think you need protection from me? I think it's good to be careful. The general studied Joe for a moment. Indeed. Come, we will talk in my private chamber. Joe followed Zorax through the ship. The halls were filled with alien soldiers, all watching Joe as he passed. Some looked angry, others curious. None looked friendly. The general's chamber was large, with a view of Earth through a big window. The blue planet looked small and far away. Beautiful, isn't it? Zorax said, following Joe's gaze. Your world has much to offer the Union. It's not yours to take. Joe said. Xorax turned to face him. So that is your answer? Earth refuses to join us? Earth wishes to remain independent. We are open to friendship and trade with the Galactic Union, but we will not give up our freedom. The general was quiet for a long time. Then he sighed, a strange hissing sound. I expected this. Humans are proud like my own people. It makes you brave, but sometimes bravery is foolish. He pressed a button on his wrist, and a screen appeared in the air. It showed many ships, hundreds of them, all heading toward Earth. This is the Union's 7th fleet, Zorax said. The 2nd largest in our forces. It will reach Earth in 3 days. When it does, your world will have one last chance to surrender. After that, he let the words hang in the air. Joe felt cold inside, but kept his face calm. Earth will defend itself. With what? Zorax waved a hand at the screen. Your few ships? Your handful of powered humans? You cannot win this fight. Lieutenant, maybe not, Joe agreed. But we can make it cost more than it's worth. Zorax stepped closer to Joe. I have studied your world since our last meeting. You have made progress. Your 37 powered humans are impressive. But the Union has millions of soldiers. Thousands of ships. You cannot stop us. Joe tried not to show his surprise. How? Did Zorax know exactly how many powered humans Earth had? Someone must be spying for the aliens. Maybe not, Joe said again. But we're not as helpless as you think. He closed his eyes for a moment, focusing. When he opened them, they glowed blue. The alien technology in his blood was active. Ready? Let me show you something, General. Joe raised his hand, and a small blue ball of light appeared above it. Then the ball changed, becoming a map of Earth's solar system. Tiny lights appeared all through the map, hundreds of them, then thousands. What is this? Zorax asked, his eyes moving from light to light. These are the ancient devices we've found. Joe said, not just on Earth, but throughout our system. On Mars, on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, even in the asteroid belt. The map zoomed in on Mars, showing a large structure buried under the red sand. Then it shifted to show something similar on Titan, one of Saturn's moons. The ancients were busy in our system, Joe continued. They left many things behind. Some we've learned to use. Others we're still studying. The map changed again, showing a ring of small objects around Earth's orbit. They looked like satellites, but with a strange organic design. These were hidden until recently, Joe said. They only activated when we started testing the ancient technology. This was a lie, but a careful one. The objects in the map were real, but they didn't work. Earth scientists had found them, but couldn't make them do anything. Zorax didn't need to know that. Defense systems, Zorax said quietly. His voice had lost some of its confidence. Joe nodded. We think so. The ancients wanted to protect Earth. We don't fully control these systems yet, but they seem to activate when Earth is threatened. The map disappeared, and Joe lowered his hand. Your fleet might win, General. But how much will it lose in the process? How will you explain those losses to your Union Council? Zorax turned away, looking out at Earth again. His four hands clenched and unclenched. Joe waited, his heart pounding. This was the biggest bluff of his life. If Zorax called it, you are a worthy opponent, Lieutenant Miller, Zorax said finally. Few have made me reconsider my plans. He turned back to Joe. I will speak with the Council. Perhaps there is another way. Not all worlds need to join the Union in the same manner. Some have special arrangements. Joe felt hope rise in him, but kept his face serious. Earth would consider a friendship between equals, nothing less. Equals. Zorax seemed to taste the word. Not yet, perhaps, but someday. He looked at the map of ships again. I will recall the fleet for now. We will send diplomats instead of soldiers. This is not surrender. Understand. It is reassessment. Joe nodded. Earth will welcome your diplomats. As Joe left the ship a short time later, he felt like he might collapse with relief. He had done it. He had bought Earth more time. Not forever. Zorax would learn the truth eventually. But time enough, maybe, to find more ancient technology, to prepare better defenses, to make more allies among the stars. Back on Earth, the leaders were waiting anxiously. When Joe told them what had happened, there were cheers and sighs of relief. They had stood up to the bully, and the bully had backed down, at least for now. What made him change his mind? President Brown asked. Joe smiled. I convinced him that fighting us would be too costly, that the ancients left defenses we could use. But we haven't found any working defenses, Harris said, confused. He doesn't know that, Joe replied. Sometimes you just need to make the other guy think twice. As celebrations began around the world, Joe looked up at the stars. Earth had won a reprieve, not a victory. The Galactic Union was still out there, still powerful. But humans had time now. Time to grow stronger. Time to learn more about the ancient technology. Time to take their place among the stars. And it had all started with one human, standing alone before an alien general. Sometimes one was enough.